Hey guys, it's Ryan, the Fly Guy, Colorado. This morning's video is going to be a little bit different. I realize that most of my followers probably aren't that familiar with fly fishing, so I'm going to give you guys a couple knots that I use, how to basically set up a fly rod from start to finish so you don't have to use a fly shop. These are some of the things that I've learned. I watch two channels on here that I find very helpful. I watch Mad River Outfitters with Brian. Brian's a great guy. He's got a lot of good advice, got a lot of great tips on flies and how to set stuff up. I also follow Tom Rosenbaum, who's from Orvis Fly Company. He also makes some very great videos. I get a lot of my tips and advice from him as well. So today's video, we're going to literally go through building your fly rod, how to choose a fly rod, what you're going to need for your fly rod setup. That way you guys can avoid the fly shops. Some of the fly shops can be kind of pricey just to set up a reel and rod, which is actually quite easy if you take a little time to research. I'm going to try and break that down into one video for you guys and make it a little easier on you. Alright guys, so the first thing that you're going to want to do whenever you're picking your fly rod or your reel, is you want to identify what kind of fish you're going to be going after. So it's a real simple tool that you can use. You can use your phone. So if you go on your phone, Google the area that you're located at and what fish are in your area that you particularly like to fish. It'll give you a good basis of where you want to start when you pick your fly rod. So primarily we like to fish for bass, carp, bluegill, crappie, trout, that kind of thing. So I based my fly rod selection around that. Today's video I'm going to use my 3-weight fly rod to demonstrate this. So if you're picking a fly rod, it's recommended when you start to probably go with a 6 or 7-weight fly rod. That's pretty good for most areas. That'll help you catch larger fish. I like to fish lighter tackle. So anything that I catch on my rods feels like it's a monster because I'm using lighter tackle. So even the smallest fish, it gives you more sensitivity in the rod. So based on your selection of fish that you want to fish for, you'll go ahead and try and pick out your first piece of gear, which would be your actual fly rod. I go with this company called Max Catch Extreme. This is my 8.4 3-weight. It's a 4-section rod. It's found on Amazon for $49. It's got this really nice cork handle. It's got these double locks on it. It's a metal construction, so it doesn't have a wood base down here. This is a medium fast action rod. I believe most of the rods from this company are medium fast action, so it's a pretty good starting point if you're just learning fly fishing. You either want like a medium, you want like a medium fast action. You don't want to start with the fast action rod. That's more of an advanced fly rod. So here's our basic rod. So we've identified what fish we want. We've picked out our rod. We've got it sent to us in the mail. The next piece of gear that you're going to want to look for is going to be your actual reel yourself. This reel came off of Amazon for, I want to say $22 for it. It's a nice reel. What you're going to look for when you're picking a reel is you want it to be smooth action. If you're left or right-handed, you want to read in the comment section if it can be reversible. This one you can actually turn this little metal tab right here to the left and pull it out. And then on this back side there's this metal spring right here and this white washer. So you take that metal spring out, you take that washer out, you flip that washer over, that white washer in here, you flip that over, put that back in, put your spring back in place, and connect your reel, and that'll convert your reel from a left-hand retrieve to a right-hand retrieve, and it'll go in the right direction. Right now you can hear it clicking because it's in the wrong direction. So this one's set up for a left-hand retrieve. It's off of Amazon. The one thing that I do with all my reels from Amazon is I take out these 2 screws right here, one at a time. I put blue Loctite on them. I also do these 2 base screws right here that attach to your rod. I pull those out and blue Loctite them. And then there's this back screw right here on your drag. I'll back that out, blue Loctite it, put it on there. And then you also have this screw right back in here for the handle. So you thread your screwdriver through one side of the reel over to the other, back that screw out. You do need a flathead screwdriver, so you'll hold it on one side with the flathead screwdriver while you're doing that, and then when you go to put it back in, put your blue Loctite on and put it back in place. You have this counterbalance weight right here. You do the same thing. You line up the holes, thread your screwdriver through one side, unscrew that Phillips head screwdriver right there, or screw bit right there, back it out, blue Loctite it, put it back in place. That'll keep your reels from coming apart ever if you're fishing. So I've done that with all of my reels. Usually I give them a pretty healthy dose of some WD-40. So that kind of helps to keep the rust and water out of it. So periodically through the summer I'll WD-40 my reels. So that's your second piece of gear that you want to pick up. So you don't need to go super expensive. Like if you're just getting into fly fishing and you're not sure if you're going to like it, I would recommend going the cheaper route rather than buying a $600 route or $600 rod and then another $300 reel, and then your backline you can cost anywhere from $40 to $80 for just your backline. So this is the cheapest setup that I found that is actually really good. So we've got our second piece of gear here. The next part of your setup that you're going to want to look for is, if you can see this orange line on the ground here, that's my back line. I've stripped it all out of the reel for the video so I can show you guys, but that's a 20-pound Dacron back line. So if you look to see, what you want to do is you want to match your rod. So this is a 3-weight rod, so whatever rod you pick, you're going to match the reel to that rod. So this particular reel is a 3-4 reel, so this can work on a 3-weight rod or a 4-weight rod. We're using it on our 3-weight rod, so you want to match the two. So 3-weight rod, 3-weight reel, and then we did some research of what our back line should be. So this is 20-pound back line, and it's made out of Dacron. I usually never have fish take me into my back line. That's your first part that's going to go on your reel. And then this other yellow line that we have laid out over here and tied up on the fence, this is going to be our weight forward floating line. This is 3-weight, weight forward floating line. This both can be found on Amazon. I found this in a combo kit, so it came with the back line and the floating line for $20 on there. This is from the Sunshine Fishing Company. I really like their products. They're pretty good priced, and I find them to work real well. It's one of my good choices that I found on Amazon. So the first thing that we're going to want to do in setting up our fly rod is we're going to take our base of our fly rod here. We're going to take our reel and we're going to orient it to the direction that we need it to be. So I fish with my right hand, so my rod goes in my right hand, and I reel with my left hand. So we're going to orient our reel on our rod. We're going to slide it into these clips down here in the bottom of the rod, and then you're going to turn your locking washer and slide it over top of your reel right there. And then take these two base nuts right here, your locking nuts, and you're going to spin these up, and you're going to give them a good twist on there. You don't want your reel coming free from your rod. So twist them on there, make sure both of them are locked together. You got a double lock to prevent it from backing out and losing your reel in the water. So we have it oriented in the right direction. So this first knot that I'm going to show you guys is how to attach your back leader. So we're going to get the end of our back leader here, or our back line. And what we're going to do is we're going to go from the front of the reel. We're going to take our back line and we're going to stick it in one direction on this right side of the reel right here. Grab it, pull it through, and then you're going to feed it around like a loop, like back into the front of the reel this way. So we've got it pulled through. So this is what it should sit like. So you've got your back line right here, and you've got your smaller tag end right here. So this knot's super easy to do. It only takes a second to set up. So you're going to take these two, you're going to pinch these two together right here. And then with the smaller line, what you're going to do is make one small loop back onto itself, back over, pinch it all together right here. So you have this one loop right here on your smaller line, and then you have your longer piece of back line coming out. And you're going to take this tag end and wrap it around both of those back through the loop, and you're going to do that 5 times. This knot is called an arbor knot. So we're going to take our tag end, feed it through the loop, back over the two pieces that we have right here. That's our second time. We're going to go 3, 4, 4, and then 5. So this is what the knot should look like before you pull it. So you want the loop, And then you want your twist going back through over top of the 2 lines right here. What you're going to do is you're going to take this smaller tag end right here, give it a little pull. You can see the knot cinch down right here. So that's what your knot should look like when you get your little smaller tag end pulled. And then you're going to take your larger end line that's coming off here, and you're going to slide the whole thing, and you want to keep it as close to the side of the reel as you can. And you're going to slide that down into the reel. So this is what it looks like while we're doing it right here. We're going to pull on our larger line and hold on our tag end. Our tag end, we want to give a nice pull to. That's going to get our knot to cinch up good. And then by pulling this larger line in my right hand here, that's what's going to tighten the knot down on your reel. So we have it set up here. We're going to scoot our line all the way to the side of our rod right here, so it's all sitting in the side of the rod right here. We're going to take out our pocket knife real quick, because this Dacron line is a little bit thicker than the clippers can handle. So we're going to take our tag end that we just made right here. We're going to leave a small tag end here. You guys can see we're going to take our knife and we're going to cut the smaller tag line off here. And then what I like to do is I'll take my lighter and this very small little tag piece that we have right here. Since this is Dacron, it can fray. So we might have to disassemble our reel for a second so we can get to it. So we're going to take our lighter and we're going to touch the end of this Dacron line and melt it down a tiny bit. We're going to leave that little small tag in case the knot slips a little bit. We want a small piece of tag in there. And then we're going to go ahead and reconnect our reel right here. We're going to click it back into place. So it's back in place. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this line, hold it with your left hand against the rod. So I grab my rod with 3 of my fingers and I hold the line with I pinch the line with my pointer finger and my thumb right here. And then we're going to begin to reel. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to lay that line as close to each other as we can while we're reeling in here. So this is where it takes kind of a little bit of practice. I might need to sit down here so I can do this a little bit easier. See if I pick it up on the camera. So we're going to hold it and we're going to just start reeling. And what we're going to do is we're going to work our fingers slowly to the left of our reel. And we're going to try and line that line up as much as we can next to each other while we're working our fingers over real slow. We're going to go ahead and scoot our back line over. So we've got it pretty well scooted over. We're going to hold it with our fingers right here as a guide. Work the bottom of the reel and scoot that back line over. What we want to do is have a nice even coating of that back line on our reel. The reason we're doing this is that weight forward floating line. If you just attach the weight forward floating line to your reel and tried to reel it, the line's going to slide on the reel. This back line right here actually helps to give it some grip. So when you go to reel, you'll actually be able to reel in the weight forward line. So we're going to work it slowly over to the left here. Just reeling it in, and then we're going to go back over from the left to the right. We're going to try and fill in any of these little gaps that we have in our weight forward line, and we're going to try and do this as evenly as possible. If you just reel on one side of the reel, you're going to build up all your line on one side of the reel, and you don't want to do that. You want to have a nice even coating of it. So we're just going to keep reeling, fill in our gaps. See, we're starting to get a little bump right here, so we need to move over to the right a little bit more. So we're going to go a little bit more aggressive with pulling our line over to the right. There we go. So we're just going to keep going and filling in those gaps a little bit. So we've reached the right side of our reel. So now we're going to go back towards the left side of our reel with our fingers. We're going to use our fingers as a guide. So as we're reeling, we're slowly sliding our fingers on our rod to try and get the line positioned in where we want it to go onto the reel. So we've made it to the left side of the reel. So we're going to go back to the right side of the reel. So slowly pull your fingers back to the right side of the reel. Reel it back in, reel it back in. We're going to try and cover this whole face of the reel with this line. So we want to get any of the gaps that we can see on. The line will feed out a lot smoother if they do actually take you out into your back line. So we're gonna work our way to the right with our fingertips here, holding our line. So we're going back to the right of our reel here. We're going to sit here for a second and then go back over to the left. And what we want to do is, if we notice there's any lumps or humps in our line, we want to try and even them out by reeling close to those humps and filling them in a little bit. So we're going to go back to the left, almost to the end of our back line. Like I said, this is 50 yards that we're putting on here right now. So it does take a minute just to reel it in. I'm going to try and make this video relatively short if I can get away with it. YouTube doesn't like me uploading long videos, so we're going to work our way back to the left with our fingertips here. So we've worked our way to the left, back over to the right. We're kind of keeping an eye on the level of our line. We want our line to be all level. Okay, but we've reached the end of our back line finally. So we have our back line installed on here. If you guys can see right here, you see how it's all nice and level right here? That's what we want to achieve. That's why we're going back and forth with the line on here. So that's what we want to achieve, is that nice level plane right there. That'll give you plenty of room for your fly line to go on, your actual floating line. So this next part, we're going to take and set our rod down for a second. We're going to leave our back line out. So when you set up your weight forward floating line, you want to locate the front of your line. We know this is the front of our line because it has a small loop in it. This is a welded loop, if you guys can see it on there. So there's not a knot that needs to be tied on this particular fly line. Some you will have to tie on. So I'll show you how to make this loop on the end when we get down to the end of it. We're going to go ahead and untie our line. We did this so that way we wouldn't lose what was the front end and what was the back end. So this is the front end of our fly line. We're going to go ahead and lay that down. We're going to come down here to our back end of our fly line. And we're going to take our back end, and this is where our nail knot tool comes into play. So I showed you guys this in a different video. We're going to disconnect it so we can use it. So this particular tool has a small file on it. That's good for sharpening your hooks. If you use them or you get them snagged on rocks, it'll blunt the tips of them so you can resharpen your hooks. It's got this small pointy end. That's to get paint and glue out of the eyes of your hooks. And then it's got this last part that folds out here. This is our nail knot tool. This is actually really a helpful tool. And then it's got the clippers itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our back line here. We're going to pull out a little bit of back line here. So we're going to pull out some of the back line so we can work with it. So we've got it attached to the reel. We're going to take our back line. We're going to fold out our nail knot tool so it'll look like this, so it's pointed out straight. And what we're going to do with our back line, we're going to take our back line. We're going to go in this little notch at the top of our nail knot tool here. So it's going to go in pointed out towards the tip of the tool. So we're going to pull out probably about, 3-4 inches of the back line here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back around and we're going to start making loops back towards ourselves on top of this tool right here. We want 3, 4, we want 5 loops on here. And we're going to come back around, give it a little pinch on the top of the tool. So we want to keep our loops on the tool here. You guys can see it on the camera. They're all looped on there on the tool. We're going to take this small tag end and we're going to go from the back to the front of our tool through those loops. So we've got our back line pulled through on our loops right here. So that's your basic nail knot right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the back of our fly line. This is the back end of our fly line here. We're going to insert that in the front of our nail knot tool here. So that's going to get inserted in and we're going to give it a little pinch with our finger like that. And we're going to take this tag end right here that we just made that's back through all the loops. We're going to give it a little pull off the tool and onto the fly line, and we're going to pull it down. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to give our fly line a little pull before we really cinch that knot down. So we're going to pull it down a little bit. We're going to take our back line. We're going to hold it in both hands, and we're going to give it a nice tight pull, real tight pull here. So we're going to pull it, give it a real nice tight pull here. Good tight pull. All right. So we're going to take our clippers here. We're going to clip this small tag end right here of our fly line off. So we're going to use our clippers, give it a little snip. We're going to leave a little tiny bit of the fly line sticking out of it. We're going to give it a nice tight pull, make sure our knot is good and cinched down where it needs to be. This is really important that this knot be nice and tight, so we're going to check it a few times because we are going to fish with this rod, so we want to make sure it's set up the right way. So we've got our knots tied really nice. Here's what the finished knot looks like. It's on the line right there. So this is connected our back line to our floating line. We're going to take our pocket knife. We're going to cut this extra back line off of here. We're going to leave a little tiny bit of a tag end. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our lighter, and where this Dacron tag end is right here, we're going to take and just touch the end of it and melt it a little bit. And leave a small bit right there. So now we've successfully attached our back line to our floating line. So the next part of the setup, this is a lot easier to do. So we're going to hold our back line in our right hand, and we're going to reel with our left, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to work it from one side of the reel to the other. So we're going to go ahead and reel. We're going to pull our fingers to the right and back and forth to the left. So we're going to grip up here, and we're going to try and get our fly line to start on the left side of the reel. So we got it started on the left side of the reel, and this was 90-foot floating line. So we're going to go ahead and reel in our floating line here. So I'll see if I can spin this a little bit to show you guys a little bit of better angle of what we're doing. So we're reeling, we're going to the left side of the reel, or the right side of the reel, and then we're using our fingers as a guide to come back towards the left side of our reel. So we're reeling towards the left side of the reel, trying to fill in these little gaps so we don't see the orange on here. So we've got to the left side of the reel, we're going to go back over to the right side of the reel, try and hit these little gaps that are in the floating line. So we're going to go back over to the right side of the reel, go all the way up to the side of the reel face, and then back over to the left side of the reel. You're just using your fingers as a guide to slide this line back and forth. So we're going to go back over to the left side of the reel, right here. So we're going to keep doing this. We're just going to repeat this process over and over until we get our floating line attached to our reel. Get it nice and even on here. All right, we've reached the end of our floating line. So here's our tag end. So I'll quickly show you guys the last actual setup to your fly rod. So there's some pros and cons with using one of these loops. So the con is on it that it gets caught in your eyes on your fly rod. So when you see me pull my fly rod or my fly line out of my rod, I'm trying to get these eyes to come free of the very end of my fly rod. That makes it a lot easier when you start to cast. So that's the con to the loop-to-loop connection. The pro to it is very simple to attach your leader. I have here a 4X leader. I buy these pre-tied from Sunshine Fishing Company. They work really well. So to attach your leader to your fly line, we have our loop here already made in our fly line. We bought fly line that had a welded loop, so we don't need to make the loop. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to take our leader end right here that has the loop in it, and we're going to slide our fly line through it. And we're going to slide it kind of down the fly line a little bit right here. We're going to hold our leader with our right hand, and we're going to use our left hand to find the end of our leader. So we're going to find the end of our leader here we have in our hand, and we're going to take the end of our leader here, and we're going to put the end of our leader through our loop in our fly line. And we're going to pull it with our left hand. So we're going to pull this through, and you'll see you have one loop connected on the fly line, and then the other loop's connected on your leader. What you're going to do is just give them a little pull, and now you have a loop-to-loop connection. That's the reason I like to use these, is because they're super simple to change out leaders when you do this. So we've got our leader connected. So we have our backing on, we have our weight forward floating line on, and now we have our leader attached. And then what we'll do is we'll hold our reel, we'll hold it up here, and we'll do the same thing. We'll kind of go back and forth a little bit. When you get to your leader, it's super not important that you really do that, but we're going to go ahead and just reel in our leader. So we've got our leader pre-attached here. So there we go. We've built our rod all the way from start to finish. So we've attached our reel to our rod, we've attached our backing to it, we've attached our floating line to it. So this step right here that I just showed you guys will save you guys from having to use a sporting goods store or a fly shop. They usually will charge you money for that. So if you learn the arbor knot, the nail knot, and then we have our loop-to-loop connection, that's the main knots that you're going to use here for your fly line. Alright guys, this concludes our video on how to build your fly rod from start to finish, and how to help give you guys a better idea of how to select a fly rod and where to look. Next video I'm going to shoot, I'm going to take you guys down to the park down here. We're going to go edit this video real quick. I'm going to take you guys down to the park, and I'm going to show you guys some actual casting where we don't get hung up in any of the stuff in our backyard. So thanks for watching.